Hello, and you are listening to Half Hour History, the show where you might learn something, but we guarantee nothing. I'm Jacinta.
I'm Luke.
And this time we're talking about
The Batavia.
So this episode is rated R for rippin' yarn. This is a rippin' yarn if we have ever told one.
This is a big one, the Batavia. This is a big slice of important West Australian history.
It is,
Am I correct?
Yes.
And I have a feeling as well that, keeping this to half an hour, because there's a lot happening here.
Yeah.
That might be difficult.
Oh, look, we'll see how we go. I feel like this one we're not going to have to pad and vamp as much as we have previously in the past.
I like to pad and vamp. But I just think, look, if you've got a problem with that, as a listener, that this is going to break that.
Yeah.
And you go, this is the fucking Batavia, mate.
It's a big old ship and it's a big old story.
It's a big story that deserves some elbow room.
Yeah.
And, educate yourself. Don't be a dummy. Listen up. Take it in. This is important shit. Now, important shit that I don't really know. I know, little bits and pieces. So I'm looking forward to educating myself and finding out about this thing.
Yeah. So the Batavia was a story that I was, a little bit familiar with as a kid, because here in Fremantle we have two maritime museums. We are spoiled for choice. We have the Shipwreck Museum and the Maritime Museum. The Maritime Museum is pretty new. It's okay, but the one that I love is the Shipwreck Museum. And in the Shipwreck Museum, they actually have part of the Batavia.
Part of it there, the actual one.
The actual ship, yeah. And it's in this, kind of temperature-controlled room that you have to go through these special doors to get into. And it's super cool. And they have,
Do you get to touch it?
You're not allowed to touch it.
Don't touch if you're there.
No. And they've got all, stuff from the Batavia. And they've got, some skeletons and shit there.
Are they real skeletons?
They are real skeletons.
So they're real dead bodies.
Yes.
Of some of the people we're going to learn about today.
Yes, and I had extremely vivid memories as a kid of seeing this skeleton and seeing a particular inflicted injury that is on this skeleton. My memories of a kid were oh my god, this is intense. And I actually went there a couple of weeks ago with friends of the show, Addie and Hero, to go and relearn about the Batavia, so it was fresh in my mind. And I walked up to this skeleton and I went, oh shit, I'm gonna look at its skull, I'm gonna see this thing. And I went and I looked at it and I went, oh. And then I went back around and read the little place card and I went, oh yeah, this is the same skeleton. But in my mind, this thing had a massive, huge gouge in its skull. This guy had been killed by an axe.
But you were smaller.
Yeah.
Then, so that when you're little, gashes look huge.
It's true. And so I've kind of walked back around. I've looked. I'm it's there, but it's more of a slight divot as opposed to a large gash. So, yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. But what is not disappointing is this...
Don't let the door hit you where your daddy split you? Is that what you said to...
Holy shit!
Is that what you said to the skeleton?
I couldn't, because it was just... you walk into the Batavia Gallery and you know where that skeleton is, because it was just... Children were just oh, the skeleton! There was about 50 children around this thing.
They were whoa, someone cut his dick off!
Yeah.
No, it's a skeleton.
Yeah, he doesn't currently have one.
He took all his skin off! And ate it!
Yeah.
Yeah,
we should probably get into this because we are going to be struggling to keep it under half an hour as we are. So, what the hell was the Batavia? The Batavia was a ship of the Dutch East India Company that was built in Amsterdam in 1628. So how many BTPM?
Oh, that's quite a lot BTPM.
Lots of BTPM.
At least 300 BTM.
Yeah.
BTPM.
Mm-hmm. So on its maiden voyage in October 1628, so this is a fresh ship, right? It was built and off it goes. It
was a maiden about to get fucked by the ocean.
Basically, it carried a cargo of mainly loots. So the intention being...
Were they sweet loots?
Well, we'll find out. With the intention of being to sail to the Dutch East Indies, or as we might know it, Indonesia, and exchange that loot for, spices and fidget spinners and Pokemon cards and stuff like that. So there was a lot A lot of loot on board.
Sweet loot.
Heaps, like over 250,000 coins. So that's a lot, right? And I don't know the value in today's money of those particular coins, but just know it was heaps, okay? And the ship also had a whole bunch of people aboard. So there was the crew, obviously, there was some soldiers, and there was just some passengers going from the Netherlands to the East Indies. And the Batavia wasn't by itself. It was sailing in a fleet of 7 ships on this journey. So we've got
What were their names?
I cannot remember off the top of my head. Don't ask that many specific questions. You know the rules.
A Bodie McBoatface.
Basically. So there are a few main players in this story. So let's get familiar with our people before we carry on. So everyone's all Dutch, so I've had to write out their names phonetically so that we don't have one of the issues that we've had in basically every episode up to this point. So I'm going to start with Francesco Pelsart. He's the senior merchant, and he's in command of the Batavia and the whole fleet. So this is Big Boss Franco.
Is he the captain?
He's not the captain.
Okay.
He's the boss of the entire fleet.
Okay.
And
so Big Boss Franco.
Big Boss Franco.
All right, that's easier. Yep.
We've got Adrian Jacobs. He is the captain of the Batavia, okay? And he's not really very happy that a mere merchant was his boss, okay?
So we'll call him Captain AIDS.
Captain AIDS, yep, or Captain Jakey, whatever we want.
Jakey, that's probably better.
Captain Jakey. Hieronymus Cornelis. Oh, shit. He was the under merchant and ex-apothecary who was third in charge. So he was...
he made potions?
Yeah, in a past life he made potions.
Like health potions
Maybe.
and mana potions.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Lucretia Vandermeulen. She was a 27-year-old lady travelling to meet her husband in Jakarta, which back then was called Batavia.
Oh, that's confusing.
And she was accompanied by her maid, Zwanjay Hendricks.
Great on the guitar.
Yes, really, really good. So they're our kind of main people.
They're our key players.
We've got Big Boss Franco. We've got Captain Jakey. We've got,
Corn Dog.
Lucretia, that's fine. Lucretia the Secretion. And
Jimi Hendrix.
And Jimi Hendrix.
Who was a lady.
He was a lady,
Who was a maid.
A maid, lady, young maid.
Lady
yeah.
Jimi Hendrix. Jenny Hendrix.
Sure. Okay. So, Big Boss Franco and Captain Jakey, they have had beef from way back. Okay, they've known each other from other kind of sailing mission things that they were doing. So between them, shit was already tense from the get-go. They weren't happy. Captain Jakey, as we said, was just like, I'm the fucking captain. How does this guy, who is not even a ship person, outrank me? And they're just like, nah, fuck off.
It'd be like having someone who, he's a merchant. He's like, the equivalent today would be like, he works at a checkout in Kmart.
Yeah.
And he thinks, just because, I'm keeping prices low and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the guy can, have the authority to check someone's bag when they leave. Yeah. Suddenly I'm in charge of a ship.
100%. So you can understand that he's a bit cranky there. So
Cranky Frankie.
So it took this ship about 6 months to reach its stop-off point in the Cape of Good Hope. So it's come from the Netherlands. It's stopped off at the Cape of Good Hope.
Did anyone try on the Cape?
Was not able to find out that information.
Okay,
we may need to do further research. During that 6-month trip, 6 months is a very long time, right?
Yeah, especially at sea.
Captain Jakey tried to crack on to Lucretia, and she was just like, oh, holy shit, no, you filthy, dirty ship person. So she...
Put away your periscope.
Basically, and she became buddies with Big Boss Franco, because, if there's someone creeping on you, then go to the boss.
Yeah.
The boss is gonna help you out.
You don't want some merchant trying to measure you in a thigh.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're going off to Jakarta to see your husband?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francesco's the merchant.
Yeah,
Jakey was the captain. Yeah.
Yeah. She's married.
Yeah. So she's going, well, okay, so Big Boss Franco, he's going to be one that protects me, and he could just totally just backhand Captain Jakey if he didn't stop being a total creeper, right? And Captain Jakey, as you can probably understand, was a bit pissy about the rejection.
Yeah, because she's siding with the Kmart guy.
Yeah. And but he ends up shacking up with Lucretia's maid instead. He's like, well, I can't have you. I'm gonna bang your bird.
I'm gonna do a solo on this Hendrix.
Yeah. And to be fair to Zwanjay, I imagine her reasoning was that, whatever happens on the Kentucky tour stays on the Kentucky tour. And even though he was a dick, he also had a dick. And look, it's 6 months at sea.
Any port in a storm.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, also during
put his ship in a bottle.
the first leg of the journey, the fleet was split up after they had a storm, okay? So they ran into a storm, the fleet was split up, nobody knows where everything else is gone. The only two other ships, so there was only two other ships inside of the Batavia after everything cleared up. So there's just, little pawn pieces are just falling off the board here.
Did they ever find those other 4 ships?
Probably. We're talking about the Batavia.
Okay.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yep. Okay, so we're stopped off here in the Cape of Good Hope. So there's the 3 ships that have pulled off into the Cape of Good Hope, and Captain Jakey, Corndog, and Zwanjay the maid went off and got absolutely shit-faced together. They had a big old Kentucky piss up. And this pissed a lot of people off. They were like, they're like, guys, look, this is going to be a long journey. Maybe let's not act like fuckheads. And Big Boss Franco gave Captain Jake a massive telling off, which pissed Captain Jake off heaps. He's like, look, I'm already not good with you being my boss. Can you just not fucking, give me a dressing down in front of all of my mates? Because that is shit.
Yeah, and, I've been on a ship. It's been miserable.
Yeah.
We're in this port. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I want to let my hair down. And then everyone's just like, nah, let's not.
Some drinks with big bits of pineapple and little umbrellas and things in and just fucking settle down, Kmart.
Absolutely. And so, Captain Jakey he's pissy to the point where he and Corndog have been sort of kind of talking about mutiny a little bit up to that point.
Mutiny, like the X-Men.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly like the X-Men.
So he's going to pop out some claws, maybe some wings.
Yep. Because, look, to be honest, the idea of taking over a heavily armoured ship full of treasure was pretty appealing, and their plan was that they were basically going to cruise around and become pirates.
That is so dope.
Yeah, because the Batavia was, pretty heavily armoured, so they could go around and just find other ships, get their big cannons out, wave their cannons around, and just take over everybody else's ship and their loot and everything. They were just going to take over they were just going to rule the fucking ocean.
King of the seas, bitch.
Yep. So their plan was to gather up a team of sympathisers, like other people who were kind of a bit, not into Big Boss Franco, and also...
Enos tattoos, beards, hook hands, all a bonus as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, prerequisite for pirating. And the other thing they were going to do is, because, Lucretia was kind of friends with Big Boss Franco, they were going to, assault her.
Whoa.
And that would kind of be... in some ways, the signal for the mutiny to get underway. That was going to be go time.
Beat her up? Kill her?
Probably more sexually assault her.
Ah.
Yeah. It's not a nice story.
No.
But at this point, it's all talk. It's all talk at this point. They're just sitting around going, wouldn't it be funny if we,
Everyone relax. They're just rape fantasies. A lot of people have them.
So, the ship... So we're setting sail. We are off from the Cape of Good Hope. We are off on the open ocean. And not long afterwards, they just lost sight of the other 2 ships. They're just gone.
Okay.
These guys are not good at shipping.
Yeah, I'm going to just side with Kmart here. I reckon he's a pretty shitty captain.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He's not ideal. So the Batavia is alone. Okay, so the Batavia is alone, all by itself, with some of the crew thinking about mutiny, some of the crew just going, holy shit, we just really need to get to Jakarta because being on this ship is fucking awful.
And there was a tiger on there too.
Sure. So Big Boss Franco fell really ill during this portion of the journey, and he ended up spending a lot of time in his cabin, probably just shitting in a bucket or whatever, which really left all the mutinous a-holes free to discuss their mutinous deeds without him around, and shit kind of started getting real at this point. So, Team Mutiny.
Embroidered up some team shirts.
Yeah, there's silk jackets.
Some team jerseys.
With Team Mutiny on the back
Team
of
Mutiny.
them.
He was number 69, of course.
Yeah. They were just like the T-Birds in Greece.
Oh, I like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, maybe you don't want to, because then they enacted their plan against Lucretia. They proceeded to hang her overboard by her feet and, quote, indecently maltreat her body.
This got dark. Yeah.
She recognized the voice of one of her attackers and absolutely dobbed on him like a motherfucker. And Big Boss Franco was like, oh, for fuck's sakes, like, I'm here, I'm shitting in a bucket. Can't you guys just keep your shit together? And he's like, well, fuck, fine. I'm going to execute this dickhead when we next see land.
So he did this horrible thing to her and then stopped. And then she went back and dobbed on him. Yeah.
So it was meant to be when, when they were going to punish whoever for this, that was going to be sort of everyone kind of uprising and going, this isn't fair, and we're going to do mutiny stuff now, yeah?
But instead they just dangled her over the edge.
Yeah. Well, they had to do that to get punished for doing that.
Oh.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, look, I'm not...
Well, I'm fine with pirates if it's, you get a parrot on your shoulder and eyeliner and like...
Yeah, look, I'm not like looking to understand the thought processes of the rapey guys. Like, they're rapey guys. Like, they're already
they're bad
pretty
dudes.
Far gone. They are very bad.
They're rude dudes.
They are extremely rude dudes. So he was going to kill this guy when they next saw land, but they saw land a little bit sooner and more unexpectedly than they imagined. Because before Francesco could hang this bloke, or before Team Mutiny could really kind of get their shit together, the ship got shipwrecked on a reef off the coast of WA.
How did I do, Captain, then?
Yeah, and so Big Boss Franco is pissed. Because, like, literally, there's people on that boat whose literal job was to make sure they didn't run into shit. And then they ran into shit.
This is a shit show of a ship.
It is. Absolutely. No one can do their fucking jobs. It's just a crazy time. So, like, the ship's fucked. Like, they've run into a reef. It's all cut up. It's sinking, done. So they started to ferry the passengers onto a few nearby islands, because it was a little kind of like archipelago kind of thing. There was a bunch of islands all sort of within eyesight of each other. So food and water was a pretty big concern at this point. Like, there's not a lot of kind of vegetation where they are, and it's all salt water, and it's all looking pretty dire. So without consulting anybody, Big Boss Franco took 48 people, which included all the senior officers, which included Captain Jakey, but did not include Corndog, and they fucked off to try and find water, essentially abandoning everybody else. Okay, so they've just gone, oh guys, we're just gonna go and find water. Women and children, you can just stay here where there is no water at all. So they tried to find water on the WA mainland, but they're kind of in the like Geraldton sort of area here, So they get to Geraldton, went, oh, fuck that. And they get back
Which still happens today.
And so they get back on their boat and they're like, you know what? Fuck it. We are going to sail for Indonesia. So they sailed for Indonesia, which is very far away. Instead of just kind of continuing up the coast and maybe, I don't know, waiting to encounter a river.
Or Perth.
Or something. No, they're going north.
Okay.
Yeah. So... yeah, instead of looking for a river or some, like, reasonable source of water, they're like, fuck it, let's just go straight to Indonesia.
How, though?
By boat.
What boat?
They're in a boat. How do you think they fucking got to the mainland? In a boat.
Oh, so in a little boat?
Yeah, a little boat.
48 people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, this is the story. And so it took them a month to get to Indonesia. So I'm sure the people on the, back in the Batavia are having a real good time. So they finally get to Indonesia. The high boatswain, fucking know what his job is, was executed for negligence and outrageous behaviour before the boat ran aground. So it was probably his job to steer it or navigate it or whatever. He did a shit job. He's dead now.
He was high.
Yes. And Captain Jakey was also arrested for negligence.
It's about time somebody did something, and they should throw the book at this guy.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Jakey is doing a very, very bad job. Like, out of everyone, it's meant to be his gig. He's doing a shit job. Everything's pretty bad. So, you're in Indonesia. The Governor General gave Big Boss Frankie a boat to go back and recover the treasure and the survivors.
In that order?
Yeah, probably more leaning on the treasure because, as we said, there's a lot of money on this boat. But then they didn't set sail for like another 7 days. And then, because all of these people, as we have previously established, are fucking useless at boats, they got lost on their way back. So they're trying to find their way back to the wreck. They get lost, and the journey back took 2 months. So these poor people on these islands have been stranded for 3 months since the shipwreck.
Crikey.
And so once Francisco gets back, he discovers that some pretty gnarly shit has gone down.
None of the women have shaved their legs.
So while he was fannying about for 3 months on the ocean, the people on the island were having, like, what can really be described as just a shit time.
No, they weren't like building a CB radio out of coconuts
No.
or, having monkey butlers or anything. This would have been pretty dire.
It was pretty bad. So some of the people on the islands died pretty early on just from lack of water. And when the Batavia itself just finally absolutely reached destination fucked and totally broke up, 40 of the people who had stayed back on it drowned. So Corn Dog had been on the ship, but he survived.
He popped a health potion.
He did, yeah. He survived and he ended up on one of the islands. So, and as the most senior guy there, as like literally all the other senior officers had fucked off, he took charge. And at first everyone was like, well, this like makes sense. Like, you are the most senior guy here, you can be in charge. But what they didn't realise is that Corn Dog was a total psycho. So he took control of all the guns and resources, which, always bodes well. He started sending people to the other islands in the guise of, getting them to search for water, knowing full well that they probably wouldn't find anything, and then they just die. They just die over there, and he wouldn't have to worry about them. So he sent a group of about 45 people, including men, women, and children, off to Seal Island. And he instructed a group of soldiers who were led by a guy called Weber Hayes to investigate some islands that were a bit further away, but could still be seen on the horizon.
Were there seals on Seal Island?
I imagine so.
Did they eat them?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that. It's just it's called Seal Island. So Corn Dog had gathered himself a little band of junior psychos, his little gang of psychos, his little psycho T-birds. And they set about just basically killing a bunch of the people that were left. So
eating them.
They started with the sick people, saying, well, like, they're a strain on the resources and we don't really have many resources, so let's just kill them. Okay?
Yeah, and that could be like a runny nose.
Yeah.
Could be a cough.
Yeah. They did start to find just the most ridiculous reasons to kill people.
Someone sneezed.
Yep. But then they realised that just killing people was super fun, and they would just find any excuse to drown, strangle, bash, or knife to death anyone who crossed their path. So this didn't include a lot of the women, because the women were kept alive for obvious reasons.
Ironing.
Yeah, and Corn Dog kept Lucretia for his own personal entertainment.
This is not a good story for Lucretia.
It's not. She's not. She's really not having a good time. So after a while, Corn Dog realised...
I picture him like sitting on a podium like Jabba the Hutt, and she's on a chain in front of him.
I imagine that's basically exactly what it was like.
And he's licking her face and going, oh.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what happened.
Yeah. After a while, he realised that the people who he'd sent to Seal Island had somehow managed to survive longer than he'd expected. So he sent his mates over just to murder the shit out of everyone. Just get rid of them, even though they were, they weren't eating his food or anything. They're just like, fuck it, let's just kill them. And they actually, they had some methods of doing things. They'd get a boat and they'd be like, oh, guys, let's all jump in the boat and see if we can go to another island and find some water. And then when they got far out, they'd just throw them in the water and just drown them.
Found it.
Yeah, and they'd, go and murder people, like, in the shallows and just push their bodies out into the water so the fish could eat them and stuff. Because, like...
Or surf on the body sometimes.
Yeah. Just like the bit in SpongeBob where they're surfing on David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, if you're on fairly small islands and you're murdering everyone, like, it's hot, there's the sun, there's lots of flies. You don't want a pile of bodies.
No.
Because it's going to get gross.
It is.
It is. There's just going to be disease and it's going to be pretty bad.
Could be like Swiss Army Man, though. That was fun.
Oh, it could be. It could be.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's crazy. So, ironically, the island that he sent the soldiers to ended up basically being like a fully stocked larder. They found heaps of water and there were like wallabies and birds and then the birds' eggs to eat. So they sent smoke signals to let everyone know that they had found some sweet, sweet supplies.
On Breakfast Island.
But after a while of no response to their smoke signals, the soldiers took a bit of a break from eating their wallaby drumsticks on the beach and thought, well, hang on, what's going on here? Something's up. Like, we have got like all this food and no one is coming over to come and see us.
You think the smell would waft over as well, like when you walk past the sizzler or something.
Yeah, so some people had managed to escape the massacre and had swam to where the soldiers were, and they just spilled the beans on all the craziness that had gone down.
Is there a movie of this?
I think there's one from many years ago.
There needs to be a new movie about this.
Well, maybe some information on that at the end.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yes. So at this point, the soldiers, who remember are soldiers, and they've been eating heaps, so they're all strong and nourished, and they're all like, in pretty good nick. At this point, they are like, you know what? Fuck that shit. And they started to just make weapons out of stuff that had washed up from the shipwreck. So, planks and metal bits and things to stab.
Coconut machine gun?
Yes. Stabby, shooty things. And Corn Dog sends a letter over going, hey, maybe we could just all be friends.
You're not going to fall for that shit, Corn Dog.
Yeah, and so the soldiers told him where he could stick his letter, right?
In his bumhole.
Absolutely. So the mutineers, they just launched a small attack on the island. But come on, they're up against soldiers, so they just got their asses completely handed to them.
Literally.
Yes. They then launched a bigger attack on the island with all of the people they had left, but that still wasn't ideal because there were still more people on Soldier Island. So Corn Dog was captured by Hayes during this exchange.
Crikey.
So it is more or less, like, not completely over, but, the good guys have more or less won at this point.
They've taken it back. Lucretia's been saved.
Well, so during this battle, this is the point where Francisco's Big Boss Franco's ship turns up, and it's basically the equivalent of that scene in Community, like where Donald Glover's character comes in with a pizza and like the whole room is on fire. Yikes. You've seen that scene?
No, but I can picture it.
Yeah.
Because I know what Donald Glover looks like.
You know what pizza and fire looks like?
Yes,
yeah. So at this point, there's now a race to the ship between the good guy soldiers who want to like warn the ship of what's happening and some of the bad guy mutineers who want to take that ship over and just get the fuck out of there. Luckily, Hayes got there first,
because he was buff.
Yeah, he's been eating like heaps of protein. He is good to go.
They'd invented Nutrigrain.
He's like fucking Michael Phelpsing out there.
Been running up and down the beach.
So he tells Big Boss Franco what's happened, and Big Boss Franco is just like, oh my god. And they all come on, they capture all the mutineers, and we are done. We are absolutely done. All of the bad guys are defeated. Good guys win the day.
Yay!
So, yay! So Big Boss Franco is, like, he is so sick to death of this bullshit.
I can imagine.
He has just had it up to here with the Batavia. He doesn't want to hear that fucking word ever again.
His blood pressure is through the roof, I imagine.
And so he just does not want to cart all of these assholes back to Indonesia for trial. So he worked out who the biggest dickheads in the bunch were and just executed them on the island straight away. So obviously Corn Dog was killed. And he had both of his hands chopped off before he was hanged.
Christ.
Two of the offenders who were, like, a little bit, like, not as bad, but still pretty bad. They were stranded on the mainland, so their punishment was getting dropped off in Geraldton.
Yeah, which is still a punishment today.
With the assumption was that they would just die through lack of resources, but evidence suggests that they may have actually been adopted by a local Aboriginal group.
Do they have their hands still?
I believe so.
One hand. They should, if they weren't like as bad, they should have just lost one hand, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, being abandoned to die in the Australian wilderness is pretty bad.
Oh yeah, but not if you found a servo.
Oh god, that's right. I imagine there's heaps of servos in Geraldton.
And had a pie.
Yeah. God. So the lesser offenders who were taken back to Indonesia, they still had a pretty shitty time on the trip back because they were flogged, keel-hauled, and dropped from the yardarm during the journey.
Keel hauling's gonna kill you.
Well, yeah, so we know what obviously flogging is. They got whipped. Keel hauling is when they are...
You're dragged under the bottom of the ship.
Dragged under the bottom of the ship and cut up by the barnacles. Yes, absolutely. So
you don't come back from that.
Well, I mean, it depends how quickly they do it, I guess. If they just rip you under, like, it's going to be the same as getting flogged. Like, your back's just going to be all cut up. But...
And you drown.
Well, yeah, if they leave them under there for long enough. But I wasn't quite sure what being dropped from the yardarm was, so I looked that up, and it's so much more fucked up than I thought. Okay, so when they're dropped from the yardarm, the victim's arms are tied behind his back, and lead weights are attached to his ankles, okay? And then a long rope was tied to the wrists, which were behind the back, remember? The man was then thrown off the yardarm, falling 50 feet or so towards the sea, and the fall was ended when he reached the end of the rope. So needless to say, the result was usually dislocated shoulders, often broken wrists and ankles. And as with keel hauling, the punishment was usually delivered in threes. So this poor, shattered, broken man was then put back up on the yardarm and dropped again. And again.
Sounds like such a fucking hassle, though, doesn't it? Because then you got to, like, look after people who are all shattered and broken and stuff. Yeah. It's not worth the effort.
Yeah, just chop their heads off.
Just throw them overboard.
Yeah, the sharks will get them. So, when everyone got back to Indonesia, finally... Probably the first reasonable meal that most of these people have eaten in about 6 months. The mutineers were tried and executed. So 5 were hanged, a bunch were flogged, and Corn Dog's second in command was broken on the wheel, which meant that basically he was strapped to a wheel and beaten until he was mush.
Wow.
Yeah. So Lucretia, who has survived all this, she was also put on trial for provocation and encouraging evil acts.
For being a bit of a sass face.
Yeah, but like she denied the charges because she's like, look, I've had a bad time. Yeah. Can you just not make this worse, guys?
And they're like, oh, could you try to be just maybe a little bit less sexy and provocative? Because I'm a judge and I'm having a hard time keeping on the other side of this table.
So presumably she was acquitted because the records show that she returned to the Netherlands in 1635.
Yay! That's okay.
And she probably lived a broken woman for the rest of her life. In 1647... there was a law change in the Netherlands as a result of the Batavia incident. So the amount of female passengers on ships were to be limited as their presence led to disturbances. So that is like peak gold medal in victim blaming. So it is her own goddamn fault.
Her own sexy fault.
It's her own sexy fault for being on the ship in the first place. So Captain Jakey...
Yes.
He's been in jail in Indonesia this whole time.
Having a good hard think about what he's done.
Yeah, you're probably growing like a pretty good beard. He was tortured, but he would not confess to his part in the planned mutiny.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, and due to lack of evidence, he escaped execution because like everyone else is dead, right? So no one can, say for or against what he's done.
It was the other guys.
Yeah. So he escaped execution, but it is assumed that he died in jail, but no one really knows. There wasn't any records.
Gosh.
Yeah. Weber Hayes, the soldier that led the rebellion against the mutineers, he was obviously lauded as a hero.
Yeah.
Like, he's like the new fucking captain. He's like Captain Netherlands.
He's the man.
Yeah. He was promoted, obviously. He was given a pay increase. And I imagine he probably also got one of those gold cards from Nando's where you get free chicken for a year.
Should have named a burger after him.
Yeah. The Weeb.
The Weeb.
So Big Boss Franco, he was dragged before an inquiry board who decided that he had exercised a lack of authority, and so he was at least partially at fault.
Could have done better.
Could have definitely done better. They seized all his financial assets, and he was dead within a year.
Wow.
A broken, shattered shell of a man.
So, what's the moral of this story then?
Don't put women on ships.
Don't put women on ships. Because they are sexy witches.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the Batavia. It's quite a story we have there, and yeah, I think it's fairly probably more well known at schools in Geraldton that this story would be taught more. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff from this wreck at the Shipwreck Museum in Freo, and it's very, very, very much worth checking out if you do get a chance.
There's Jakey's price checking gun. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that was Frankie's.
Yeah, Big Boss Franco's price checking gun. Yeah,
lots of stuff like that. So whose skeleton did you see?
Oh, it's just some guy.
Some dickhead.
Yeah. It just says that it's a guy and he has an axe wound at the top of his head and he is missing a foot.
Ah!
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, so there was obviously a big, once the wreck was discovered, there was a big kind of recovery mission because they're like, well, this is full of fucking treasure.
Potato chips.
Treasure! So, I mean, all the coins and stuff are pretty fucked from being down in the ocean for like a couple of hundred years.
Oh, you can still spend them though. Yeah. I had a $2 coin the other day that looked like it was evil. Like it had been in Satan's pocket. It was. And I kept thinking, I've got to spend this thing because I'm sick of carrying it around.
Yeah.
But it would like fall out of my jeans and onto the armchair, and then I'd see it and go, oh shit, it's still there. I could not get rid of it. Finally, it was like used it on a bus and got it out of my life.
Yeah.
And then the bus crashed.
So that is the Batave.
The Bataves.
The story of the Bataves, yeah. That's, a pretty crazy one. There was, I don't know where it's at now, but old mate Russell Crowe had bought the rights.
Look, bloody hell, that writes itself. Get Russ on, get Edjo in there.
Yeah. So if we're going to fan cast, who would we fan cast? Like, I reckon...
Okay.
Well, I mean, I feel like Rusty would probably want to cast himself as Big Boss Franco. But I kind of almost see maybe Ian McShane as Big Boss Franco or something like that.
I don't know, he's the merchant. I reckon, and he's like a bit of a soft cock at the beginning, isn't he? Like he doesn't take control. I reckon Weno.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Played a little bit more dandy, and Russ is the captain, surely.
Yeah, Russ is. But then would Russ want to do the even meatier role of corn dog?
Or maybe be an alchemist.
Yeah,
it could be. So Edjo's the captain. And
Edjo's the captain,
And then Weeby is got to be Wertho, the soldier that saves us all.
Yeah, maybe. But what about who?
If you're not going to put the best bloody actor in Australia
in
your Batavia movie, then you're the dickhead.
I know, but I'm trying to think where can Jaiko go? I almost see Jaiko's got that kind of golden boy thing that Weber could be. He could be Weber.
No, come on, it's Wertho. You don't get bloody Jaiko when you can have Wertho. Jaiko can be,
Jaiko can just be one of the island people.
No, one of there's people there that are important. They're going to have stuff to talk to. And of course, Lucretia.
He can be exposition man.
Lucretia's got to be Margot.
Yeah.
Gotta be Mark. It has to be.
Yeah. And I mean, by the time that, if the movie ever gets off the ground, I'm sure she'll be old enough. Maybe, what's her name? Angourie Rice can be Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So look, it's an Aussie blockbuster in the making. Forget Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman in Australia. This is an Australian story with everything you need.
Baz Luhrmann to direct the Batavia movie.
Forget fucking George Miller to do it.
Yeah.
And go and see it at the movies and have a wallaby drumstick. And
absolutely.
You'd have a great time.
Yeah. I think the article that I'd read, I think he'd optioned it for... And they hadn't actually done anything about it, and I think the option may have expired by this point and I don't know if he's renewing it. But there hasn't been much talk on the horizon about a Batavia movie.
Who's gonna fucking tell Russell Crowe that his option's expired? Like,
He'll just walk in and be like, "Oh, I want to do the Batavia movie," and they're like, Russell, we have some bad news." And he's like, "What? What's the fucking bad news, cunt?" And they're like, nothing, Russell, sorry."
Options? You got options, mate. I'll give you 2 fucking options. Make my fucking film or feel my fucking fist.
Yeah, I've got an option for you. It's called my right fist or my left fist. Pick, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, no problems. He'll get it made if he wants to.
Yeah.
Do what he wants.
He sure can. All right, that is us. Woo, 10 minutes over time.
Look,
not too bad.
You did a sterling job with all that,
we
that
ripped
info.
through that one. Normally we don't have many notes for these, and this was double the normal notes that we have.
It's
so
an
I'm
important story.
pretty happy that we got through it in a timely fashion.
You can't cut corners on this one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I did have to leave some stuff out. Like, there's so much more just individual kind of character stuff. But, like, look, this is half-hour history. This is not every single fact ever history. That's not what the show's called.
You don't make excuses for not learning the names of the other boats. I think I'll call this episode Bad Behaviour on the Batavia.
Nice. It's catchy.
It is.
Yeah, cool. So we will see you next time. You can visit us at fruitlesspursuits.com. Come and see us at the Facebook page, which is, what is it, FPcast, Book Was Better, fucking...
There's a link on
some other shit.
on Fruitless Pursuits.
Yes, and there's also links to the Patreon where you can go and visit us and throw us a shiny $2 coin, or even more if you feel like it.
Come and fancast the Batavia movie.
Yes, fancast the Batavia with us. Find out. Just tell me, where can Jaiko be? Just find a little spot for Jaiko.
And maybe you can put some photos that you got from the museum.
I can. I didn't take many. I took some of the Batavia shell, and I did take a photo of the skeleton, actually. I didn't take a photo of his nog, but I did take a photo of the skeleton. So I'll put that up as well.
You know what would have been great?
What?
Like, and maybe they can do this in the movie.
Yep.
Because you've got all these different, like, you've got the guy in Indonesia, and then you've got the people on the different islands, and
like the Governor General in Indonesia, that can be like Jack Thompson.
And you've got like Lucretia. All this stuff's going down. Imagine if all these people had Instagram accounts. And you were seeing like what was
like real time.
Yeah, like he's in Indonesia going, "Oh fuck, that guy's wearing a skull for a hat." Like, that's shit. It's going to take me 2 months to get back there.
Yeah, everyone looks like fucking Marowak.
Yeah, yes.
wearing the skulls of their friends.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gosh. Crikey. That would really give it a bit more beef. A bit more meat on the bones.
Yep.
Which sounds like your friend at the museum could do with, because there was a skeleton.
No.
I should shut up, fuck off the end.
All right, we'll see you next time. Donk-a-donk.